We are back with the Screen Team, and I'm glad you are here because we've got a very special review for you. We got Val here to take it and give us a little insight into this movie. It's called The Life of David Gale. Is that right?
Yes.
I get the title right?
Got the title right.
I'm 1 for 1 already. We just started.
You can go for 2.
This is a movie starring Kevin Spacey, Kate Winslet, and Laura Linney back from what, like the mid-90s?
Yes, this would have been early. I want to say 93, 94, somewhere in there. This movie is about a professor who has a bit of an indiscretion with one of his students and is accused of rape. Now, the back scene with this guy is that he is a big advocate against
capital punishment.
Capital punishment, yes, very much against capital punishment and the death penalty. So when this student that he has this engagement with, basically she's kicked out of school, she fails his class, she accuses him of rape. And that totally collapses his entire life. I mean, it totally does. So everything that he had been working toward, he basically lost it with this accusation. And even though the charges were dropped, still it was there. So basically when he tries to rebuild his life and tries to get back into being an advocate, nobody wants him to be a part of it.
Right.
And so as you're watching the movie, it really kicks off. You're starting out and this is where you learn what happened to put him. He's actually in prison, and currently going to be killed. And he seeks his first interview. So, I mean, he actually is in prison for the death penalty for murder and allows the very first and only interview with a reporter who is played by Kate Winslet. And because she basically, instead of revealing her sources, spent some time in jail herself. And so when you learn the history of how things led to his downward spiral, one of the advocates that he was working with was just played by Laura Linney. She also was a professor as well. And he is accused of her murder. And whenever it's one of those, he tells the story that builds up to it, and you honestly wouldn't see it coming the way it happens, because he's explaining that he has been set up by the man because of, there's only every time you fight authority will come back, and so he's trying to get her to solve the puzzle of what really happened.
Right.
So as you move along into that story, that's all good. As you move along into that story, do I do a spoiler alert? Because, I mean, if you haven't seen it.
The movie's like almost 30 years old, so I mean.
Yeah, all right. If you haven't seen it.
Spoiler alert. Go ahead.
Okay, so spoiler alert, basically throughout all the story, and you have all these bits of videos and evidence that's being fed to this reporter because she's trying to find the real killer, who she really thinks, because she starts believing him. At first she doesn't believe him. And what happens though is he plotted it out so well, he actually she did not commit murder. Laura Linney's role, she ended up with leukemia and decided, because she was just as big an advocate against the death penalty, she was trying to basically send someone to prison that was falsely accused to create a moratorium. And he gave his life to do it, because what he could not accomplish in his life, he actually accomplished with his death. So the whole thing is set up not just to justify his life and what he did and the choices he made, but also to get back at all of those who kind of pushed him into that downward spiral. It's an incredible movie.
We're going into some deep stuff here about.
Right. Oh my gosh, how did that happen? Phew, we got to get out of this, right? But no, it is a great movie. It is an older one, and I want to say it is one of Kate Winslet's second or third movies after Titanic, if that tells you how far back to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a very well played out movie by those that are in it, and it's a drama.
You know what vibe I got at the very beginning when you're introduced to Kate Winslet and you have to find out what she's doing, how she has to interview this killer getting ready for death row. I got a very Silence of the Lambs kind of vibe to it when you're watching it.
You do. Because it is almost like being her, where Jodie Foster goes to meet Hannibal Lecter for the first time.
Sure.
Because based on all the evidence that is presented in the beginning, just in the whole drama of it, they make you feel like, wow, what kind of rabbit hole is this one really going to go into? But actually, the rabbit hole's pretty deep, just not in a psychological sort of way, as far as the old it puts lotion in the basket. It's not that psychological, but it is a good movie.
It's a very, very good movie, and I would have to say I enjoy the movie, but not as much as I should have.
Right.
Just because of the whole situation with Kevin Spacey and the allegations that he's facing. It's kind of hard to watch a movie with these kind of points and triggers and marks in it where he's kind of going through the same thing.
Maybe
you know?
he should have learned back in the 90s. These things can happen. It is a shame, though. And it is, because it makes it very hard to go back and look at one of these movies that I really like with him in it, because you're looking at it with a totally different perspective.
Right.
And it's a shame.
It is a shame, because it is a very, very good film. It really is.
Yeah,
I wish we'd have been able to watch it a year
Before,
ago or
right?
so. But it is rated R. It's obviously got some dark elements to it, some adult themes, so definitely keep that in mind. But it's definitely a thriller. It's definitely one that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It does kind of keeps you guessing, too.
You're like, okay, who did that? Well,
right.
How did this happen? So it's one of those that it keeps you guessing. So if those are your type of movies, definitely give it a try. The movie's called The Life of David Gale, Kevin Spacey, Kate Winslet, Laura Linney, and just a really, really great cast. So check it out on DVD. Val, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We got more reviews coming your way next right here on The Screen Team.